What's up, Vinyl Community? It's your boy Chris coming at you live, as always, from the Man Cave. So, within the last few videos, I've done a lot of trip videos, a lot of digging videos, a lot of company videos, a lot of special surprise videos, a lot of stuff like that, but I have gotten massively behind on the recent finds videos. So much that I may actually end up showing you something in this video that I've already shown you. I've tried my best not to do that, but hey, I'm old, guys. I forget shit. Here's what I'm going to try to do. I've got a stack full of recent finds, stuff from like the last few months that I've stumbled upon, dug upon, been gifted, all kinds of stuff. I'll try to remember in what context that I got it. We'll see. Cheers to all of you guys. Friday afternoon, Friday evening, wherever, whenever the hell you're seeing this shit. Cheers. Got a stack. Let's get started. I don't want to keep you guys on a 30-minute video. Jazz for Surf Nicks, the Australian All-Stars. Basically, I couldn't pass on this because I thought the cover was festive. Dug it. A couple ladies chilling out on the beach. Dug it. I don't really know hardly anything about anybody that's on the record or anything like that. I just know that I thought it was cool and it was a cheap price. Next up, one of the great jazz vocalists of all time, Sarah Vaughan. Orchestra arranged and conducted by Michel Legrand. So a couple of big names there. Hey, vocal jazz, Sarah Vaughan, hard to beat. Next up is a couple of Chris Conrad records. So some more vocal jazz. Chris Craft, Atlantic. Absolutely fantastic record. And then one more by her coming up next. Chris Connor, He Loves Me Not. Great stuff. Next up, Jerry Mulligan, California Concerts, Pacific Jazz Records. Pacific Jazz, always great shit. Always. Forever. I think I've owned this record a couple times, actually. Next up, Ray Barretto. So it's either Carnival or Carnival. I'm not positive. If it's Carnival, it's spelled wrong. It's misspelled, so I don't know. Hell with it. It's a 2-record set. Pretty damn decent stuff on Fantasy Records. I dig. Next up, Grover Washington Jr., All the King's Horses, arranged and conducted by Bob James. Always good stuff with Grover Washington. I dig. Next up, Mallets Aplenty, featuring Terry Gibbs. And of course, it's MRC Records. So great stuff. Next up, Jerry Mulligan meets Stan Getz. This is about the 3rd time I've owned this particular pressing of this great record, which is not an OG, if I'm not mistaken. It's close. It's early. It's an early pressing, but usually when it comes up, I mean, if it comes up a chance for me to go grab a Grail, it's usually an easy one to sell, and then it's usually an easy one to reacquire. So, therefore, you're going to see this in a lot of recent acquisitions videos. I'm just being honest. Next up, Shirley Scott, Girl Talk, Impulse. Basically, I really dig the cover, and I like Shirley Scott, and her records are always cheap. So, for one reason or another, produced by Bob Till, of course, Impulse Records. Either way about it, I mean, I got it for cheap. Next up, Milt Jackson, Plenty Soul. And this, of course, is on Atlantic Records. Great stuff. I believe I probably have 2 copies of that, not positive, or have at least had multiple copies of that before. Next up, Milt Jackson, once again, Sunflower with Herbie Hancock, Freddie Hubbard, Ron Carter, and Billy Cobham. So an absolutely outstanding lineup, and it's on CTI Records. I don't know what the hell the cover means or what it's got going on. The name of the album is Sunflower. That looks like a bunch of ostrich heads to me. Hell, I don't know. But it's got Milt Jackson, Herbie Hancock, Freddie Hubbard, and Ron Carter. I mean, so... flop. I don't know. Good music. Cover doesn't make much sense to me. I don't know. Who cares? Next up, arranged by Montrose, Pacific Jazz 1214. And this is Bob Gordon, Clifford Brown, Zoot Sims, Russ Freeman, Shelly Manne play the arrangements of Jack Montrose. So, pretty killer stuff. And anytime you talk about an original album that the great and legendary Clifford Brown played on, then you're talking about wonderful, wonderful, wonderful music. So, picked that up recently. Next up, Gil Scott-Heron and Brian Jackson, It's Your World. It's a promo copy, guys. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful stuff. Arista Records. I love Gil Scott-Heron. Not for everybody, I understand. But it's for me. Next up is one that I'm going to be honest, I legit bought because I thought the cover was cool. I don't know. Musically Mad. Misled by Bernie Green. With the stereo Mad Men. RCA Victor. I don't know. Yeah, I'm yet to listen to it. I'm not positive what it's going to sound like. I got it for cheap. I got it for a steal. So we're going to roll with that. I mean, hey. Next up, Howard Rumsey's Lighthouse All-Stars, music for Lighthouse Keeping, Stereo Records, a.k.a. Contemporary Records. Stereo Records 7, S7008 in association with Contemporary Records. Just the term Stereo Record sounds ridiculous to me. But anyway. Well, I digress. Howard Rumsey, bass, Bob Cooper, tenor, Frank Rosalino, trombone, Conte Candelillo, trumpet, and Stan Levy on drums, and Sonny Clark on the keys. Great stuff. Next up, Art Taylor, AT's Delight. Damn, I'd love to have an OG of this. But the reason I have this one is because a friend of mine just got an OG of this. My friend Ed, that you guys hear me talk about all the time. Yeah, Dave Burns, Stanley Turrentine, Wynton Kelly, Paul Chambers, and Potato Valdez. This one, I believe, yep, I'm right, is a Blue Note Reissues Analog Productions Series reissue, 45 RPM, 2 LP. I hate the 45 RPM, but I know it's going to sound great. So I went ahead and took it off my boy after he got his OG. Thank you, Ed. Next up, Johnny Griffin, Blue Note 1559, Volume 2. United Artist pressing. Great stuff. Splat out. Also bought off Ed, I think shortly after he got his OG. So, yeah, wonderful stuff. Next up, The Outer View, George Russell. Original stereo pressing on Riverside. Phenomenal record. Don Ellis on trumpet, Garnet Brown on trombone, Paul Plummer on tenor, George Russell on piano, Steve Swallow on bass, Pete LaRocca on drums, vocal on You Are My Sunshine by Sheila Jordan. Absolutely phenomenal record. Sorry guys, I'm parched. Next up, Charlie Brown Christmas, Vince Guaraldi Trio. Not positive if I've ever shown this on your channel, on this channel or not. If I have, then I apologize. But it's this, I think, an early 70s reissue. I've still never heard it in its entirety. I don't know. I feel like I've got to be in a special mood. There have been people I know that are friends of mine that tell me that they are in the mood to listen to this all year round. I don't know. I can't imagine being in the mood to listen to a Christmas record all year round, but hey, it's a classic. Next up, Mr. Jones, Elvin Jones, Blue Notes. OG, always thought it was an interesting cover. Very interesting cover. Next up was a gift. Was it a gift or did I buy this shit? I bought this, never mind. Is That So? John Hicks Trio. Matter of fact, I believe I've shown this before. But anyway, we're rolling with it now. Featuring Idris Muhammad and Ray Drummond. Like I said, I'm pretty positive that I've shown this before on the video that it was gifted to me on. African Waltz, Cannonball Adderley and his Orchestra on Riverside. It is an OG. It is an OG mono. Yeah, I got 2 copies of that one now. Next up, Freddie Hubbard. The Baptist Hubbard. Herbie Hancock, Ron Carter, Billy Cobham, George Benson, Keith Jarrett, Arto, Hubert Laws, and Jacques DeJohnette. And it's an anthology of previously released recordings on CTI. So, great stuff. .com. Shirley Scott, Satin Doll, Prestige. Wonderful stuff. Black Vibration, Sonny Stitt. So many Sonny Stitt records. I mean, how many? Does Sonny Stitt have 1,000 albums? He might have. Change Up the Groove, Roy Ayers, Ubiquity on Polydor. Absolutely phenomenal album. Love it. Next up was one that a buddy of mine grabbed for me, Lonnie Smith, Aphrodisia. That's an OG. It's on Groove Merchant. flat out. Wonderful stuff, beautiful album. I freaking love this record. It's absolutely wonderful. I had never owned a copy than a buddy of mine, Jason, the Jazz Basement. Shout out, brother. Cheers to you. Well, just so happened, I think it was HR Records. Jason, please correct me if I am wrong. In DC, and found it and snagged it for me. Thanks, my brother. I love that record. Next up. Whatever. Next up, To Swing or Not to Swing, Barney Kessel, Volume 3. OG and Contemporary, beautiful album. Next up, Have Trumpet Will Excite, Dizzy Gillespie. I've had a couple of copies of this one now, but it's one of my favorite Dizzy solo albums, actually. Next up, Please Mr. Jackson, Willis Jackson. Become my second copy of the album. Sold the other copy that I had to a buddy of mine, Ed, I believe, with Bill Jennings and Jack McDuff and Prestige 7162. Beautiful album. Next up, Mustang, Curtis Amy. Absolutely wonderful album. One of 2 Curtis Amy albums that you guys are going to see today. Copped it off my boy Tree from A Supreme Love. Next up, A New Black Poet, Gil Scott-Heron, Small Talk, 125th and Lenox. Absolutely phenomenal album. Flying Dutchman, OG. And by now, of course, it's going to be a stereo, but man, I got to tell you guys what a phenomenal album this is. Very happy to have it. Love Gil Scott-Heron and his work. Wonderful. Next up, Blues and Roots, Charles Mingus. OG Stereo. Guys, Mingus, pretty much everything is essential. At least that's my opinion. I don't know. Not positive, but in my opinion. Next up, America's Arranger, Gil Evans and his orchestra featuring Bud Johnson and John Cole. It's on Pacific Jazz, so it's more orchestral, so it's not really my jam, not really normally my type of groove. But I have it, and I got it for relatively cheap. And so it's on Pacific Jazz. I prefer Gil's couple of records that he put out on Impulse. Those are better, but I'm not really an orchestral type of guy, as I've just mentioned. Next up, It's a Blue World, Mel Torme. And this is a similar type of jam to the Gil Evans, actually, because I think it's more orchestral, if I'm not mistaken. So it's probably not something that's going to get played that much, but I got it for a steal, so I'm not really worried about it. Next up, Know What I Mean, Cannonball Adderley with Bill Evans. I actually bought this copy with a friend in mind. That said friend is my boy Ed. I already owned a very nice copy, so I went ahead and grabbed this copy for him because honestly, if you're a Cannonball Adderley fan, if you're a Bill Evans fan, you really need this. It's probably my second favorite Cannonball record. And for Bill Evans, I don't know, because that original Bill Evans trio has so many great records. But in terms of the Cannonball Adderley lineage, it's something else than this one, at least in my personal opinion. Anybody who wants to argue, I don't care. You can put it in the comments. I'll decide whether it's worth my time. Next up, Curtis Amy and Frank Butler. Groovin' Blue, Carmel Jones, Bobby Hunterson, Frank Strazzeri, and Jimmy Bond. It's on Pacific Jazz Records again. This is OG all day, baby. Flip that around real quick. See Jazz, flat out, great stuff. Very thrilled to have it. Next up's a couple that I got from my boy Jason, the Jazz Basement. Is first off is John Coltrane, or however you pronounce that shit. I've never been 100% positive. It's one of his probably lesser accessible albums, but it is OG all day on stereo. Got it from my boy Jason, the Jazz Basement. Before this, I had owned not OG. Very happy to have this one now, guys. Gotta tell you, love this record. Happy to have it. Anything Coltrane, honestly, anything Coltrane. Next up, Meditations, John Coltrane. I had owned a Oh, yeah, I had owned like a 70s pressing of this one or whatever, and then my boy Jason at the Jazz Basement put Meditations, John Coltrane, stereo pressing in my hands. Yeah, can't beat it. Next up, We Insist. Max Roach's Freedom Now Suite may very well be my favorite record in the entire stack that I'm showing you guys. Featuring Abby Lincoln, Coleman Hawkins, and Alatunji. I think I'm pronouncing that right, and if I'm not, then correct me, please. It's on Candid Records, stereo pressing. Only got this because a buddy of mine found a mono pressing, which I didn't even know a mono pressing of this existed until my buddy told me. Love the cover, love the music, love the artist involved. I just love it. This is just great. This is wonderful. Highly recommended for everybody. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that this is being reissued for Record Store Day. I don't know the quality of the reissue. I don't know the label that's doing it. I don't know anything other than I saw it on the list for RSD. So basically what I'm saying is this: don't take my word for gospel that you're going to get a oh my God phenomenal reissue of this. All I'm saying is I saw it on the list. So take a look. If you're somebody who values my recommendations, take a look and make your decision from there. But this is a must-have, in my honest opinion. Max Roach's Freedom Now Suite, We Insist. Phenomenal. Absolutely. Next up, presenting Cannonball. It's Cannonball Adderley's debut. Savoy. Well, let's just say it's Cannonball Adderley. It's debut. It's on Savoy. But Julian Cannonball Adderley on alto, Nat Adderley on cornet, Kenny Clark on drums, Hank Jones on piano, Paul Chambers on bass. Guys, this shit is sick. I recommend. Next up, Sunset Eyes. Teddy Edwards, Joe Castro, Leroy Vinegar, Billy Higgins, Ronnie Ball, Ben Tucker, and Al Levitt. Pacific Jazz Records. Guys, this is probably one of the 2 or 3 most essential titles on Pacific Jazz, in my opinion. Right there alongside Curtis Amy's Katanga. I mean, it's up there. Yeah, it's really up there. I highly recommend anybody listening to my voice right now. If you have the means, it's not that expensive of an album. If you see it, don't jump on it. Seriously, I mean, it's really great. The next few, yeah, coming to the end. Out of the Storm, Ed Thigpen, featuring Kenny Burrell and Clark Terry, Herbie Hancock, and Ron Carter. This is a wonderful album. It's always been one of my probably 2 or 3 favorite albums on Verve. I absolutely love it. Been looking for my own copy for years. My boy Marcus just put this in my hands, and I can't even begin to tell you guys how psyched I am to have it. So, looking forward to spending this here, like, I don't know, in like the next few minutes. Because, yeah, I've been looking after this one for a long time. So, Out of the Storm, Ed Thigpen. Not that expensive as of yet. So, if you see it, time to jump on it. Next up, Lee Morgan, self-titled, towards the end of his career. 33 1/3 stereo, of course. Division of United Artists Records. 2 LPs, guys. This is brilliant. This is among Lee Morgan's absolute best work, in my opinion, in his entire career, and I mean that sincerely. This just goes to show you where this wonderful artist was heading and what we were deprived of. So, yeah. Highly, highly recommended. Getting down to the final 2 here. Bud Powell, The Amazing Bud Powell Volume 2 with George DeVivier, Tommy Potter, Arthur Taylor, and Roy Haynes. Again, Amazing Bud Potter. It's going to be The Amazing Bud Powell Volume 2. Might as well, if I can get it spread around for you guys. If I struggle to do it like I do. Flat Owl, OG, Lexington Ave. Yeah. Last one's the final one I'm going to show you guys today. It's the one that I'm probably the most excited to get out of the entire group. Been one that I've been after for a while. It's Blue Notes 1554 Volume 1. Orgy and Rhythm. Art Blakey. Let's go ahead and get some of this glare out of here. Blakey, Arthur Taylor, Joe Jones, Sabu, Potato Valdez, Ubaldo Nieto, Emilio Quintero, Herbie Mann, Ray Bryant, Wendell Marshall on their respective instruments. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's, again, probably the one I've looked the most forward to in this stack, and one I'm absolutely thrilled to have. And so now that I have Volume 1, you guys already know what's next. So we'll see how long it takes. Usually after I get that itch, it doesn't take long when you're dealing with multi-volumes. So we'll see. So, happy to have this one. Happy to have all of these, actually. And a couple of them spoken to friends. I acquired with friends in mind. And yeah, we'll see where it goes from there. But until next video, hope everybody's enjoying a great weekend. Friends, family, food, beverages, great records, great, recreation, great time. And I hope everybody is just hanging on in this crazy world. But until next time and until next video, keep dropping that new, guys.
I don't think it's but
Legs over there. Legs.
y'all are both tall.
You ought to see her with her little friends in class.
Shorter.
No, she's way taller than all. It's like watching a giant with a bunch of midgets.